this is your only warning. Do not leave any comments being upset about spoilers because I told you in the first minute. Excuse me, that was a weird cough. Yeah, what a fantastic movie. Easily my favorite of the three Marvel Superman films, or Spider-Man films so far. Homecoming is my second favorite, and then there's a pretty big gap, and then I'd put Far From Home there. Also, I did wear my Spider-Man shirt, of course. Had to put the Spider-Man shirt on for the movie. But yeah, easily my favorite of the three Spider-Man films that Marvel has done. Also, this is probably, I don't want to make any sweeping statements just yet, but this is probably a top 5 MCU movie. Maybe top 10. Like, it's comfortably top 10, but it might be top 5. Let's try and just walk through it. The movie opens up, and it opens up with the news report from J. Jonah Jameson talking kind of basically the same thing, how the second movie ended, Far From Home. And he reveals that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and I thought J. Jonah Jameson was really interesting throughout this. He isn't in the movie a ton. I'd say he probably has like 10 minutes or less of total screen time throughout this whole movie, which is, but I definitely thought he played the character well, of course, because this is now the second time that J.K. Simmons has played this role. And I thought the direction they took the character of J. Jonah Jameson was interesting. They kind of, they did a not so subtle allusion to Alex Jones, basically. And at one point they even, had him selling a supplement live on air. So, that's like a direct, like, hey, this is Alex Jones that we're lampooning here. And I thought that was really well done. And, kind of a social commentary on the dangers of disinformation, misinformation, how it can spread. And I think a good commentary on, how human beings, when we're afraid or we're not thinking clearly, we can make these bad decisions and assumptions, and human beings are prone to panic and distrust and stuff. And I thought that using the character of J. Jonah Jameson was really, they did that well. They illustrated that point pretty well. I also thought an interesting thing they did with that character is that in the beginning, they kind of show a behind the curtain type shot, and you see it's just him sitting in front of a green screen, in a basement by himself. But then in the latter half of the movie, he's in a full-on production studio. He has a giant wraparound screen behind him, and there are multiple people working for him, producing the show. So I thought it was kind of an interesting, just it kind of shows his growth of his platform. Because also at the very end of the movie, basically the Daily Bugle is being projected, not projected, but it's being played on the giant televisions in Times Square, up on the building, so it just shows how much his platform grew. And let's see, the rumors, the speculation, all that was correct. Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were back in this movie, and it was insane. I had a and stuff. Like, it was incredible seeing Tobey Maguire again. That's the Spider-Man I grew up with, you know, that first movie came out in 2002, I believe, his first one, so that's the Spider-Man I grew up with, even though I do personally prefer Tom Holland's version. It was very nostalgic, very cool seeing Tobey Maguire, and he kind of played like the wise mentor role in this. He was clearly older. They didn't try to de-age him at all, which at first was a little bit confusing because they de-aged the villains. Like, Alfred Molina looked exactly the same as he did in Spider-Man 2, playing Dr. Octopus. Willem Dafoe got de-aged to look like he did in the first Spider-Man film, you know, because Willem Dafoe's in his 70s now, maybe late 60s, but he looked like he was in his 40s in this. So I thought it was interesting that they did not de-age Toby and Andrew. They both were clearly older than when they did their movies, you know, because that's how time works, but they did not use the de-aging technology on them, and I liked the older version of them. They were both older, wiser, and I also thought this movie was a really good, like, redemption movie for Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man, because that version of Spider-Man has always gotten a lot of flack. The movies have been panned by critics and by audiences, and I'm not going to act like it's unwarranted. Those Amazing Spider-Man films were not good. They were not good, but Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man and a good Peter Parker, and I'll stand by that. I think he did a good job encapsulating the character. And in this movie, with better writing and better direction, it really showed, you know, how good he was, because I kind of thought that Andrew Garfield stole the show in this movie once he showed up. Like, obviously Tom Holland's great, and it was really good seeing Tobey Maguire again playing Peter Parker, but for me personally, like, I think Andrew stole the show a little bit. He had this really, really good emotional moment with when he saves MJ. MJ is falling off of this, like, scaffolding or crane arm or something, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man jumps off to go catch her, and then the Green Goblin, like, intercepts him in midair, so MJ is just falling, and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man notices and, like, runs and jumps off and grabs her and then, like, webs up and pulls it and saves her. And he has this moment where he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he starts crying because he saved her, and in his films, Gwen Stacy died when he tried to save her. So I thought that was a really, really good emotional moment for him, a good character moment. Got a good moment of closure there. And they kind of tried to do the same thing with Toby, but I feel like he just didn't have as big of a moment. Toby's big one was seeing Doc Ock again, and Doc Ock had been cured. So, there's a moment, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, he fights off Doctor Strange and gets the little cube from him that he was going to use to send all of the villains back to their own dimensions. Because when Peter Parker was trying to do the spell to make people forget about him, he kept, like, interrupting Doctor Strange, which made him lose focus, and then, like, anybody who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man came into the world. So Doc Ock was there, Green Goblin was there, Sandman, Electro, and Reptile, or Lizard. I forget, I think it's the Lizard. And Doc Ock actually gets cured by Tom Holland before the final act of the film. He takes brings the villains to the apartment, and he's like working on these cures to get them better. Like he's taking all the electricity out of Electro's body using this little device, and they're working on a cure to like turn the lizard back into a human and all this stuff. And if you've never seen the original Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, the reason that Doc Ock goes insane is that the chip that is used to control the octopus arms on his back malfunctions. So instead of him controlling the arms control him, and it turns him like very violent, aggressive, angry. But when they're at the condo, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is able to cure. He puts a replacement chip into Doc Ock's neck, so he's actually back to his normal self. But then Green Goblin betrays him, and there's this really good fight scene where it's like him trying to escape this condo apartment complex that's just being torn to shreds by the villains. Doc Ock runs away. He'll come back later to bring this all back to my regular point. And then then Tom Holland's Spider-Man gets into like a 1v1 fight against Green Goblin in the hallway. That's like very scary, and you see because Green Goblin injects himself with like a serum to make himself stronger, kind of like a Captain America type beat, you know. And they're doing a 1v1 fight in the hallway, and there's like a scene where Tom Holland's Spider-Man is like up on his like on top of Green Goblin's shoulders, like just punching him down in the face as hard as he can, and Green Goblin is just laughing maniacally, like he is not feeling any of this pain. And then the fight continues. Tom Holland is getting his ass kicked by Green Goblin, like just not even putting up a fight really. It's bad. And then Green Goblin ends up killing Aunt May, and that was like a really, really powerful scene in the movie. And Aunt May ends up hitting him with the line, "With great power comes great responsibility." You know, that line usually goes to Uncle Ben in the comics and both of the film series that have been done. But Aunt May hits him with it in this one right before she dies, and it's like, oof, it's a big. And then Tom Holland is just like completely broken down. Like there's a scene of him just standing in the rain watching the big screen Daily Bugle TV, and like J. Jonah Jameson is like blaming him for Aunt May's death, blaming all the destruction on him, all this stuff. And while this is happening concurrently, the other Spider-Men have come into the mix because Ned uses Doctor Strange's sling ring that Spider-Man had taken from him. He's using Doctor Strange's sling ring, and he's like, "Find Peter Parker," and then a portal opens up, and Andrew Garfield comes through. Then he does it again, and Tobey Maguire comes through. So like that's how they come into the picture. And also now Ned has magical abilities, not very strong. All he can do is like open the portal, and then towards the end of the movie, in the climax, they had a part where he opens a portal, but he can't get it closed again. So obviously he's still learning. And I have to imagine in Doctor Strange 2, like a storyline in that will be Ned being trained to be a sorcerer, which that's pretty exciting. But anyways, back up to the climax. You know, our Spider-Men, they all see each other and hang out, but Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's kind of moment of redemption, because like I said, Garfield gets on he sees Doc Ock cured, and they have a little conversation with each other, and he's like, "Hey, you know, you don't have to die, like, you're all better, you're cured." Like, I think that was kind of his moment of closure, and it was nice. And I thought that, you know, the three Peter Parkers did not spend a ton of screen time together. If I had to guess, it was probably less than half an hour of this entire movie. But I really like all the time that they're together in this movie was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every second of it. blizzard. Like, after everyone else is taken care of, it's just Green Goblin. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man is 1v1ing Green Goblin. And, like, he's just beating him, punching him, kneeing him, throwing him, webbing him, punching him. And there's a part where he keeps punching him in the face, and then, like, Green Goblin slumps over. Tom Holland, like, pulls him right back up, punches him again, throws him down, pulls him up, punches him. Like, he is brutalizing him. And you see Garfield and Maguire, like, looking on and, like, watching him. Because, you know, they're like, you shouldn't kill this guy, we need to cure him and make him better, and, you know, all this stuff. But he had just killed Aunt May, so Peter is like, he's seeing red, you know, so he's just brutalizing him. And then, you know, Peter actually picks up Green Goblin's glider, and he's, like, holding it, and he's gonna, like, bring it down and stab him to death with it. But you see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, like, actually catches the glider and, like, stops him from doing it. But then Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man literally in the back with a sword. Not a sword, but like an arm blade thing, like a blade that came out of his forearm. And he stabbed him with that. And then Garfield tosses the final cure to Holland's Spider-Man. He catches it and stabs it into Green Goblin's neck and cures his split personality disorder, I guess. And yeah, and then, well, as this is all happening, Doctor Strange is closing up the breaking reality cracks. And then, you know, I don't want to just recaps. I'm trying to hit the main story beats that I liked and stuff. But then, you know, Tom goes to him and says, if you cast the spell and nobody knows me, will it reverse this? And he says yes. So Tom Holland Spider-Man says goodbye to everybody. All the villains start disappearing. Toby and Andrew disappear. He says goodbye to Ned and MJ. They kiss. Then they forget about him. And at the end of the movie, he goes to see MJ again because he wants to, like, win her back. He's, you know, make her remember him, fall in love again, because nobody knows who he is. And he sees her, and it's her and Ned, and they're, like, having fun, and they're getting excited for college, and they're, like, gonna live a normal life. And he has this moment of reflection, and then he's just like, I'm good. And he just leaves. And he just leaves and doesn't say anything about their past or what happened or anything. He just lets them be. And I thought that was a really heavy, interesting way to end this movie. There's a scene at the end where he meets Happy at Aunt May's grave, and he's, you know, Happy doesn't know who he is. And he's like, oh, how'd you know her? He said, oh, I knew her through Spider-Man. And Happy's like, yeah, me too. And they went their separate ways. So I'm interested to see, because Tom Holland did sign a 3-movie deal with Marvel, so there's going to be another Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, at least 3 more movies. So I wonder where it's going to go from here. Now I'm not sure if Zendaya is coming back, so that might be their way of, like, writing her out. You know, if she doesn't remember him, he doesn't go after her, then maybe it's like, hey, Zendaya, if you don't want to renew, we can just move forward, and maybe Tom Holland's Spider-Man will meet, like, his Gwen Stacy, or maybe a Black Cat or something. But then if Zendaya does renew her contract with Marvel, then in the next movie or the second one, he'll probably get back together with her, right? So it leaves them some flexibility there. I want to touch on the villains, then I'll go to the Spider-Men. Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina easily stole the show for me. Molina was really good. And the de-aging technology on him was so good, because if you've seen Alfred Molina lately, he does not look like the way he looks in this movie. They did a great job on the de-aging. just by looking at his face and the way he like was just holding himself when he was the Goblin and when he was Norman and when he was the Goblin, Willem Dafoe was terrifying. I'm a huge Willem Dafoe fan, like beyond Spider-Man movies. Like The Lighthouse is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I mean Willem Dafoe was just a hell of an actor, and I'm glad that with these Marvel movies being so popular, that him putting in this good of a performance, so many people are gonna see it and appreciate it. The ones that really fell flat for me was Lizard, Reptile, whatever they call him. He just didn't do much. Like he was there, and then in the condo scene, he didn't even come into the condo. He was just in the truck. And then the final fight, he had like maybe 30 seconds of screen time in the final fight. Just wasn't a lot going on with him. And I don't know what it was, but Sandman, he just seemed like really flat. Like, I don't know if because of COVID or whatever, the actor like had to shoot his scenes separately, or if it was just he wasn't even on set. Maybe he just recorded his lines somewhere else, and like, because of restrictions or whatever else. But his performance just felt kind of flat, and I don't know. And anytime Sandman was like talking or doing stuff, it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I have to be honest. I didn't really like Sandman. And Jamie Foxx's Electro was okay. He was so-so. That was like an average performance for me. But Molina and Dafoe just stole the show. And it was nice seeing like a good Doc Ock, like him doing good things and being like a hero. That was good. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man obviously was like the most anticipated and the one everyone was hoping to see. And he got the biggest reaction from the audience when he came on screen. But I think that Andrew Garfield put in a better performance than Tobey in this movie. There was a couple times where I felt like Tobey's performance wasn't that good. There's a couple times where his acting felt a little flat, and I don't know, it just didn't come off as very sincere. But Andrew Garfield acted his ass off in this movie. You could tell that he wanted some redemption probably for how things went with his Spider-Man series, and he more than got it in my eyes. He absolutely killed it in this movie. All of his like everything Andrew Garfield was doing, in my opinion, just hit perfectly. Like, he nailed it. And I loved to see it. I loved him in this movie. It makes me want to go back and watch his two movies again, even though I know they're not that great, but I just want to go watch them again just to get some more Andrew Garfield. And also, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man suit is incredible. I think that's my favorite of all the suits that have been in the film so far. It has like I love the lenses on it. It has like the big white lenses. They're not angular like the Raimi suit, and they're not as small as the MCU suit. he's blind. So you're like, that's Daredevil, dude. They're bringing Daredevil into the MCU, and I am pumped about that. I'm very excited for a Daredevil. I don't know if he's going to get his own solo movie, but if he even just like teams up with Spider-Man, maybe in the next Spider-Man movie, because I'm pretty sure those two have teamed up quite a bit in the past in the comic books. I would be very down with that. I'd be very excited to see that. Okay, the post-credit scenes. The post-credit scene, there's two. The first one is Tom Hardy's Venom sitting at like a bar in Mexico, it looked like, or Hawaii maybe, and he's talking to Venom, talking to a bartender, like, he's like, wait, so the Avengers, Thanos, like, trying to get a hold on the situation, and then he gets blipped back to his own reality, but at the end, you see that a small little bit of the Venom symbiote is still on the bar, and then it crawls away right before it cuts to black. So, I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a different Venom for the Marvel movies. I don't think they're going to bring in Tom Hardy, but I think there's going to be a new Venom in the Marvel films, or that Venom is going to go attach to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and we're going to get like a black suit Spider-Man, symbiote Spider-Man arc, either for the next Spider-Man film or the one after that. And I'm very excited about that. Very excited about that, if that does happen. Overall, amazing, fantastic movie. I'm definitely going to go see it again, at least one more time, maybe two more times. Just to, because I'm sure, like, in the excitement of the whole moment, there's some little things I missed here and there. Yeah, very excited. I thought that the cinematography, the direction, all that stuff was kind of just like elevated a touch above the standard Marvel affair. Like, I love Shang-Chi. I loved that movie. I haven't seen Eternals yet. I haven't seen Black Widow yet, but I love Shang-Chi. This was better. Like, the direction was better. The cinematography was better. Everything was just kind of elevated above the standard, like, Marvel production quality, which is already high. Like, I'm not saying it's bad, but this was just like an extra level above. Also, there was a moment where Norman Osborn says, "I'm something of a scientist myself," which is like straight from the memes. So you love to see that. Like, just a great little nod. And, yeah, I mean, just a really good movie. It was fun. It had a lot of excitement, a lot of deep emotional moments, and I feel like I'm missing so much in our review, but like it's just like I'm just going off of what I can think of, and I had a great time. Watching it. I'm definitely gonna see it again. If for some reason you watched this, even though you hadn't seen the movie yet, I recommend you go and see it, even though I've just spoiled the whole movie. Like, it's different seeing it yourself. You'll love it. Also, shout out to Hannibal Buress, who was absolutely hilarious in this movie. He's good in all these Spider-Man movies, but he was really funny in this one. Yeah, man. 10 out of 10 for me, easy. 10 out of 10. That might change on second viewing. I might drop it to like a 9.5, but my first reaction is a 10 out of 10. And probably a top 5 Marvel movie of all time. And I'm putting this up into, like, this is a Spider-Man 2 tier Spider-Man movie. This, like, Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, and No Way Home are easily the 3 best Spider-Man films ever made. And I'm not going to put them in any particular order. I can't at this point. I might try later, but at this point I can't. I'm super high on the Spider-Man hype train right now. There's going to be a Fortnite video out tomorrow where I'm using the No Way Home Spider-Man skin. In that video, I talk about putting this video out afterwards, but I'm going to put this out first. So tomorrow will be a Fortnite video using Spider-Man. And you know what? I might hop into this and put up some decided yes or no either way, but I'm feeling a lot of Spider-Man hype right now. I'm big into it, so we'll see. I might do that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you saw the movie, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the movie, if you agree with my review, if you disagree. If you liked the movie, if you disliked the movie, let me hear it. I love to hear all the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single